Hey everybody, Tyler with Bedford Camera and Video. In the studio today, we have the highly anticipated, long-awaited successor in the X100 series. This is the X100VI. While the X100V was and still is a very popular camera, this is the next step in the X100 series, giving you many feature and function updates found in the newest Fujifilm cameras. Now, looking at it, the body has essentially remained the same. So it's going to be the same form factor, going to work with a lot of the same accessories. It uses the W126S battery, the same 23mm F2 lens, which is a 35mm equivalent on a full frame, a tilting touchscreen, and of course that really cool rangefinder found in this series, but you can also, with the flip of a switch, use the electronic viewfinder. The first big change I want to talk about is the sensor. This is a 40 megapixel sensor compared to the 26 megapixel sensor found in the previous version. This gives you 1.5 times the resolution of the X100V, at about twice the speed. Another really cool standout feature is the video capability. So on the X100V, you had 4K up to 30 frames per second. Now in this X100VI, you're able to shoot 6.2K video up to 30 frames per second, and 4K up to 60 frames per second. And just like the XH2S or the X-T5, you have F-Log2 built in for video. If those features sound familiar to you X-T5 users, that's true. A lot of the insides, like the sensor and the processor, are going to be very similar to the X-T5. So if you're someone who uses the X-T5 in their workflow, but you want to add one more camera but keep that consistency, this is a great way to go. And you can shoot handheld with up to 6 stops of image stabilization. A 4-stop neutral density filter that you can turn off and on as needed. And by default, you enable this ND filter by pressing and holding the switch on the side, but you can program this to be another button somewhere else on the body. And being that F-Log2 requires a higher base ISO, that's where the built-in ND filter is going to come in handy. The X100VI also comes with a really cool feature that I wasn't expecting in a camera of this size, and that's Frame.io camera-to-cloud integration. If you're shooting in a studio setting and you need to push images or video over, so another person can work on them while you're still shooting, just go into the menu, turn this feature on, and then make sure it's connected to your Frame.io camera-to-cloud workflow. The X100VI has 2 built-in teleconverter settings, but if you want to change your focal length optically, you can use the existing WCL and TCL conversion lenses. Simply take the protective collar on the front of the lens to expose the threads, then thread either lens you want to use onto the front of the lens, equivalent to about 28mm and 50mm respectively. The X100VI is designed for all creative pursuits, including travel, landscape, studio, and filmmaking. Of course, I didn't forget about film simulations. There are 20 film simulations to choose from when shooting stills or video, including the newest one, Reala Ace. Another useful feature about this 23mm f2 lens is the close focusing ability. We were surprised how close we could get to our subject using a small camera and lens like this. We were able to focus on some really interesting textures just a few inches away from the lens. Fujifilm has put a lot of work into the X100 series since they first came out in 2010, and the X100VI is no exception. If you want to make the Fujifilm X100VI part of your kit, visit any of our physical locations or online at bedfords.com.